name is Stacy. I have no slides, and this demo, I'm totally going to call a live demo, which leaves lots of rooms for error. And I'm certain there will be some, so just bear with me. But this is a watch me work session. This is going to cover everything from like getting started on a project, so we can dive into different areas, and it's going to be a hands-on overview. So we won't necessarily go over everything you see, but just kind of touch base with how, like, what tools I use to maybe make my process more automated and faster, and maybe slower when you have to configure those tools, or slower for the first project or two. And then once you keep duplicating all of these things, it gets much faster. All right, I'm going to share one of my 1,000 screens here, and we'll get started. Which screen would I like? Let's do this one. Okay, but do you see you guys? This little strip? No, Zoom is smart enough not to. Do you see a green bar on the left? And it's probably super small, so I'll make sure that anything I do, I will increase the size. Okay, so first of all, anytime I get started in a WordPress site, whether I am starting from the very beginning, or maybe there's been all sorts of design happening while, you know, I'm waiting for some sort of branding exercise or some of the content strategy, you can start this at any point in the process, because this is what we call working locally. If you've heard any of us say that, this is going to be what we mean. This is an app I use called Local by Flywheel. In fact, I think the newer version is just called Local. However, I don't have all of my sites exported from the old version, so that's why this says the full Local by Flywheel. Flywheel is a hosting company, but you can use their app for local development for free, and you can use any host that you would like. Those are independent. This is a standalone app. However, there are some neat features that if you are hosting on Flywheel, you can go ahead and select connect to Flywheel or whatnot. Okay, so to get started, if I were going to start a new site locally, I would click the plus button here. You can give it any name you want. I think I remember Claire saying make sure it has the same amount of letters that is in your domain name, but it always ends with .local for me, so that's already more letters. So this site today we are going to call, let's see, demo 2021. That's pretty boring. .local, or actually it will give me .local, so I don't want to do that. See, and that shows me a preview of what the domain will be. I always change my site path because I always have a folder per project I'm working on. So let's call this the same, demo 2021. And almost always in all of my folders, I have like a docs folder, an images folder, maybe a design folder, any sort of resources, but I'm going to usually create a web folder so I can put the website stuff in that folder. I'll just hit open. I'm not going to use a blueprint. That's just if I have saved settings that I like to use over and over again, I can do that. Continue. I'm going to just go with their default preferred. If I know I'm hosting somewhere else and I have very specific parameters I need to set the site up with, I will edit that, but I don't. Ooh, can you see this? Let's see. No. Super secure password. And no, we're not going to set up a multi-site. Let's see if I can remember that super secure password later. That would be horrible. But then we can show you how to edit the password in the database using an MD5 hash generator thingy. All right, so this is going to take a minute or so or less. Wow. What it does is it takes a copy of WordPress and it pulls it down onto your computer. And now if I were to go to this folder here, which I will here, in sites and demo 2021, organize alphabetically. Here it is. And my web folder I created. So local by Flywheel will install a bunch of stuff. What you need to zone in on is this app. And then there's a public folder, and that's where the WordPress like root is. That's what will go up onto the server when you deploy the site. All right, and then we can see in the config file here, well, you probably can't because it's really small. If let's actually open this in VS Code. I'm gonna have to drag it. The config that it outputs for me in my WP config here gives all of the local database username and password, which is root, unless you've changed it. That's probably maybe big enough. And it will automatically assign my salts, gives me the default table prefix. And if I want to turn on debug, I can paste that here. We're not going to do that right now, but do know that this WP config file, when you move the site to a host server in the cloud, this is the file you'll have to duplicate so you can save the local version of it, or you can create a local version that's checks for whether it's development or live or local. We won't get into that right now. Just know that these few lines will have to be edited for whatever your web host tells you to use there. Whenever you create the database username and password on the host, you'll have to enter that information here. All right. So that was pretty fast. That's faster than going to wordpress.org and then downloading a new zip file, unzipping it, all that stuff. And it also created my database. So I'm ready to go. If I look here, it installs how many default themes. See, maybe, I don't know, is this something, Claire? I'm gonna ask you to chime in here. Can you set it up to not install all the default themes, but just one?
I haven't
If I do the blueprint.
I haven't messed with that. I gotta say, every hosting company I've ever installed WordPress on decides what themes they want you to start with, and then one of the first things you do is go in and delete the extras. So
yeah,
there's probably a way to configure it, but I haven't seen it yet. I just delete them if I don't need them.
Sure. And there's so many ways to do this. I know a lot of people may use WP CLI command line, and then you won't have to deal with that. However, I just find hitting some buttons a whole lot easier than learning commands. So I'm just going to right away delete every theme that I'm not going to use except for one default theme that probably the newest, well, I don't know. I guess the newest one would be good for the longest lasting because eventually I'm sure they stop getting supported in security updates. However, you might have more security updates if you do use a newer theme because they might have more things to fix sooner. But it's always good to have a default theme in order to like test if a plugin is breaking or you're getting some sort of weird error message. You can always activate the default theme to see if it's the theme that's broken or maybe a plugin. So that's why I always keep one in there. And yeah, plugins file folder is empty. Sweet. All right, now, what do we do next? Let's go over, do you want to do that yet? Where's local? How many, did I? Oh, there it is, right under there. I'm actually gonna move this into its own space here. I already have one open, but that's okay. All right, so if I go and view sites, I likely have a default WordPress theme installed and maybe not the one that was activated. I don't know which one starts out activated. So I'm gonna log in here with my super secret username. Oh, I already messed up. There we go. Yeah, why not? Okay, right, so we already saw that. Default WordPress install. Now I know when I start a site out, I'm going to make one decision right away, and it's going to be, am I going to use a premium theme and make some custom adjustments, a layer of design over the premium theme. There are a lot of advantages to this. One is you don't have to write nearly as much code. It'll give you all the like the grid layout types of frameworks, and a lot of just like the options of maybe different like header styles where your logo is going to go or whatnot, and footer styles. The problem with a premium theme is there's not quite as much flexibility. I feel like I often undo and overwrite code almost as much as I would add to it if it were a completely custom theme. So there's like, you got to watch the balance there, and it depends really on probably the client's budget. The larger the budget, the better it is to do a custom theme, because you can get them exactly what you or what they need. And then, you know, you would only write to those specific sets of goals. So that's a good reason to do a custom theme. However, also the custom theme doesn't get updates unless that client has hired you to do a maintenance contract. But a lot of times with these premium themes, you'll see that there's often an update, sometimes security, rarely features, but every once in a while they'll add new features to the theme. That's often something you'll see in a plugin. Okay, so let's pretend that for today, we are going to install a premium theme. And one theme that we've used a lot is Astra. I can either download the here, which I think I'm going to do just to get a tour of this website. We're going to go with the free version, which isn't really listed high up. It's this little text link here. Do I have to actually, I have a copy of it, so I'm not going to fill out this form. I'm going to find it on my hard drive and install it that way. Hey, look at that. I just downloaded Astra.
That was quick.
I know, right? I am going to paste it into my demo theme, which I should sort by name here. Ugh. And actually, let's drag a shortcut. Okay. And themes, I'm just going to paste that file I just downloaded. And now when I refresh, I should get the option to install Astra. But before I do that, I know I will almost never, ever only rely on a premium theme, because any amount of customization you do would need to be done in either a plugin or a child theme. Because anytime that theme does have an update, it will overwrite what you wrote, unless it's like it will overwrite what you wrote. So you almost always want to create a child theme. Now, if you're doing a completely custom theme, you don't necessarily have to use a child theme. It's almost extra work if you do. But we are using the premium theme today. I think, what is it? Astra has a child theme generator, so we will use that. All right, so our child theme is going to be called Demo 2021. We're going to look at the advanced options. I don't remember my shortcut for my domain name, sorry. And great theme. We could say custom child theme based off of Astra. And I also want my folder name to be similar to the theme name, so I know where to find it. I don't want to upload a file with those dimensions right now, so I'm just going to click generate. And WordPress used to make you have a image, and now they don't. Where did that go? Here we go. Although I think I'll put that there. I'll get rid of the package in a second. All right, excellent. Now I'm gonna, oh no. Do I want this one in the sidebar or this one? Oh well, I'll just keep it this way. Okay, let's open this in VS Code and see what we are working with. And let's go full screen. And I have 500 of these open now. That is not correct. Oh, it's over here. Let's get rid of this one. Okay. So the child theme we downloaded has the little block for the theme name that I entered in there. And hey, it gave me a screenshot. That's handy. And then the functions PHP, which is the only other file you need in order to run a custom theme like this, or a child theme like this. Ooh, they have that already in there. So this whole define child theme demo, blah, blah, blah version number is pretty important when you're trying to bust cache. It will output the theme version there anytime I save the CSS file, as long as the CSS number has also updated here. So anytime I do an update, I update it in two places. I will update it here, and then I will update it here. So I would just add a 1, let's say. I'd add a 1, and then when I save it and upload it, the site won't be cached like it always tends to be whenever you check for new changes. So that's kind of nice.
Hey, Stacy, can you describe how this process is different from if you were making a child theme from something that's not the Astra parent theme?
There's very little difference other than I just use the child theme generator. But the things that you would need in any sort of child theme is this little, I don't actually, well, you need PHP there just to say. The package here, is that the text domain that just does your translations, I think I could remember that. But you basically need to enqueue the child theme styles. And what I like to do, and I think is an industry standard, is to base those off of the parent theme. So this is going to enqueue these child theme, my demo 2021 theme styles, so that it loads the CSS into the head of the or the generated markup. That was clear as mud, wasn't it? Yes. Two things you need. You need this functions.php file just to tell it where the style sheet is located, and you need the style sheet to tell it what the theme name is. Now, that could be all we need, and we can go and activate this and not make any customizations ever, and that's okay, but it's nice to have if you do have customizations you want to make. So let's go take a look at our, refresh here, let's go take a look at our themes, and now you'll see we added this demo 2021, which is our child theme, and it says this is a child theme of Astra. It knows that because there's a line in the CSS, or in the CSS that says template or something. I'll show you in a second. This is the description that we included, my name, my link to my website, and the theme name, version number here. Now, if we look and compare that, so theme name, my name, the link, that description, the version number, this is whatever, whatever you want that child theme to be. There's probably some laws about what to use if you are using a certain child theme of a premium theme. You probably don't even have to have that. I could be wrong. I probably shouldn't say that kind of stuff. Text domain for translations. And this is the important part here. This line here, template, is saying which theme to look for, what is the parent theme, and we are using the Astra theme. So that is what you need for the child theme to work. Any child theme to work with any parent theme, you need to tell the CSS file, the style.css, by default, that's what it looks for. And then you need to actually enqueue that style.css file, whether you want to use Astra or anything else. And really, that's all that's in this child theme right now. So we haven't done anything super fancy. At this point, I like to use something for version control to save a history of every file that I'm going to be working on at any point in the process. So you can always roll back to when things were working. And then it's a nice little savior. You can set it up so that it automatically, whenever you want to make a change, save it. And then if you do something called push, it pushes it up to the server. And then if you have the next part set up, it will automatically deploy those changes to your server. So you don't have to go in FTP anymore. You don't have to go in through the admin and edit the theme appearances theme editor file. This is all done locally. You can push it and then forget about it. You have to set some of that up, and we can kind of briefly touch on that in a little bit. But to get started, even tracking files locally, like there are some projects here in my sidebar that I don't have set up to push anywhere. I only use it to record a local history of the files in case I ever need to roll back or start a new feature that might take a while. I can do that in a separate like branch, kind of like a folder, if you would think of it that way, so that if something's not quite ready for the live site, I still have a working copy of exactly how the live site is, and then my new feature over here. So I use it regardless of if the server uses it or not. I am going to, and there's many ways to do this, I should say. With Git, you can use the command line over here. I can go to my folder 21, but then I also have to cd into what, web app public, or is it public app? Or I can open a Finder window and just drag it. See if that will let me go here. No, okay, I need to minimize this over here. Okay, so I was in the right folder. Also, choosing what level of folder to track is important. If you're hosting on Pantheon, they want all the sites, including like at the root, you would track everything so that when you pull code, if a plugin's been updated, for instance, it will pull that updated plugin. If you're using pretty much any other host I've used, they don't really care what you do. And if that's the case, I like to just track my theme, because that's where all my changes are going to be. I'm not tracking uploads. I'm going to ignore those. Even Pantheon ignores uploads because you don't want to pull down, 5,000 images every time you make a change. And then if you have custom plugins, I advise using its own repo for those plugins, because then you can use them independently of this site. All right, where were we? We are in, I full screened the wrong one. Here we go. We're gonna make that way bigger for you. And we are going to drag the path we want to track, to save as our Git history, which is this theme folder. So in my terminal, I'm just gonna drag and drop it. And now it tells me I'm in that folder. If I say list, it'll tell me I have 3 files there. And if we take a look, you'll see we have 3 files. Now, I only recommend doing this if you're super comfortable with the terminal. I'm going to show you another option here. At this point, I would probably say git space init, and that would create the repo. I, however, like to click buttons, like I mentioned earlier with Flywheel, and that's why I'm not using WP CLI. I'm going to say, create new local repository. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to drag this folder over here. Boom. So that's my new local repository. It's saying, hey, we don't see a Git repository here. Do you want us to create that? I'm going to say, yes, please. Create that repository. And now I can see demo. And then I have 3 changed files. That means these files are either new or modified from the last time I saved or committed, which I haven't done yet here. So I'm going to rename this branch real quick just to be very woke. I can't do that yet until I commit. All right, we'll do that. To commit in a GUI like this, a graphical user interface, I'm just going to check all the boxes. If you're using command line, you could do git add all, or you can just make your life easier and use GUI like this. And I'm going to say you always have a message with every time you commit something. First one's often just initial. So now if I were to go and make any changes, let's say I bump this up to version 2 and I save. I go back to my GUI here and say, oh, there's been some modifications. And it's going to show me exactly what I changed, exactly the line, and what's been deleted, what's been added. And it's so helpful for your future self. If you wait a few days between changes and you're like, oh, I know I made a bunch of changes, I don't remember what I did. It's also helpful if you're trying to look back at the week beforehand and you have to give like a report to a client. You'd be like, oh, I did these 20 things because I have all these little saves. And this is basically required if you're working with anybody other than yourself. If you're working with another person, it's nearly impossible to just FTP files up and down all the time. So you'll want to use some sort of version control to see what the other person's working on. Maybe you're both working on the same file at the same time. You don't want to have any conflicts. This is the way to go. I'm going to make version bump, commit, and we're good to go. All right. So we can talk about deployment now if you want. I don't want to get too much into this because I don't want to lose everybody. What is it? Do HD, deploy. I don't even remember what I use. Deploy. What do I use? Anyone use any deployment? Unmute yourself and let's chat right now while we're having fun.
I use deploy HQ and deploy bot, depending on which one has a free offer or free subscription. They kind of change, but at different times when I need one, I'll be able to either like have an account with one that's free or have an account with the other that's free.
I'm tempted to set up a deployment here, but if I only can have one site, then that's really not helpful. Yeah, I'm not even gonna chance it. All right, so you could set up a free deployment. I think you get like 10 pushes a day. And what this site does, or what this service does, is it will receive any pushes that you've made to Git, and then it will take them and push it over to your hosting server automatically. It's basically having like a nice little app to do your DevOps for you. You can set up what kind of build you want. And there's all sorts of config. So that's why I don't really want to get into it that much. I am a designer. I do front-end development, front-end, take a drink. But I don't know what all of this means, and that's okay. And I was able to set this up with very little friction. So I think it was really easy to set up. I did it a long time ago, and I never had to worry about it again. I do see here that I am pushing to GitHub, and it's probably pulling that GitHub repository. That's how they're connected. Now you can use GitHub for public for free, like if you want a public place to put your files. You could also use Bitbucket for free. And do they still do free private repos?
Last I checked, yeah.
Okay.
Can I comment on deploy? So
please do.
So I just got an email from Deploy Bot this week that Deploy Bot is no longer offering their free basic plan. And I now remember that last time I had to set up a repository, Deploy HQ was a lot easier to use. Their instructions when you click through to set up the deployment just made a lot more sense to me than Deploy Bot. So I like Deploy HQ better.
Okay, there's a endorsement. view some of my commits. It's been a while since I worked on that site. Hey, a little bit. And then it's been 3 years. But it was great when I was using it. So I highly recommend using something like that. And you don't have to, you could just track everything locally. When you're working local, it's fine. But I highly, highly, highly recommend if this is something you do for a client or even for yourself, it's a great habit to get into. It's kind of like running a backup system on your machine, but this is for your website files, not your database necessarily. That is separate. Okay, so let's say you were ready to get everything up and running. You have a server, a host server that you're going to use, and either you're going to set up deploy bot or you're going to write some build scripts yourself, or you're going to FTP everything, which even like you'll probably have to do some sort of a FTPing to get, if you're only tracking the theme files. You're still going to have to get a copy of WordPress on your host server. So you would FTP everything. You have to create the database first. You have to FTP everything up. And then what do you do about your database? Well, let's say you built everything locally. You need to somehow get all of this fabulous website content that you've been building on your own computer and push it up to where people can actually access it. There's a number of tools. We've talked a lot about a lot of them. There's Backup Buddy, there's Duplicator, there's all sorts of tools that you can use in order to get that database up to different sites. You can push to staging, you can push to a production site. I prefer, let's see, Delicious Brains, WP Migrate DB Pro. I don't have any. Let's see here. I just got my yearly notification that they automatically deducted another whatever chunk of money to do this, but it's the only plugin I pay for without having like it be owned by a client. This is like my plugin, and it's the like absolute one plugin I use for every single site, because working locally is so much faster, and you just have to be able to test it. And even if you test it on a staging site, it's just really slow. So working locally, this is almost a requirement. If you have some sort of way to migrate your database up and down, this goes both ways. Yeah, I think I have the side hustle plan here for 4 active sites, and it doesn't, your staging sites, your local sites don't count towards that limit, which is nice because you could have multiple versions of that staging site. It's only 4 sites on a remote domain URL. So that's kind of cool. And hey, look, 50% off. I'm just not a new customer. All right, so let's go ahead and install that. Since I'm working locally, I'm gonna just like copy and paste that file. I am gonna put this here on the bottom. Remind me that this is the folder, this is my theme. I have this little folder of like often used plugins. So I'm gonna copy a couple of these. Do I want that one? Sure. I'm going to copy WP Migrate DB Pro, Ultimate Add-ons for Gutenberg, and Safe SVG. I almost always use a SVG for the logo. And a lot of these sites want you to upload it through the customizer. And by default, WordPress doesn't want you to mess with SVG files for some reason. Oh man, I have to back out to get to theme or plugins. All right, so here are my 3 plugins I'm going to bring over for now. And go back to the plugins. I'm going to install all of them. Oops. Oh, they're just there. I'm going to activate all of them. Duh. Apply. Oh, plugin settings page. For now, I'm not going to worry about this. This is by the same people who make Astra, I believe. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, it's kind of confusing. We'll go into that later. But it took me away from my plugins. I'm going to activate my, I don't really need to, but in order to show you my, I probably should blur that out on post if possible. In order to use this, you would have to allow push or pull depending on what environment you're on. Like if I'm only going to pull information down from the production server, which is the case after a site's launched, I'm never going to push it up because I'm afraid of what has been modified to the database. So I'm only going to pull it to work on new features. Yeah, that's a whole different talk about how to make sure when features go live, how many times you have to update that database. And then when you're on the remote server, on the live server, you would then copy this connection info, and then you would paste it here. When you go to migrate, it's going to say, I'm going to pull that down or whatever. I would paste this from the live server, and then it's going to give you all these options of like, it'll be the same as this screen. So it will automatically output the production URL, and it'll have your local URL. But since I'm local, it already has the local one here, but this would be over here. And then it would find the path on the production for you. And then you would have your local file path over here that's already filled out for you because it's smart about that. You can choose which database tables if you don't want to migrate all of them that you want to migrate down, because sometimes you'll have like huge word fence and other types of maybe WooCommerce, maybe you're not going to migrate all of that stuff down. Then you have like exclude spam comments if you don't need all that, and get rid of the cached data. I always save like live to Stacy's MVP, MacBook Pro or whatever. Export and save. Well, I think it would say like migrate or something if you're doing two different environments. But I also use it here, just like I did here, to make a backup of the database often. I will just back it up from local to local in case I have to make some changes. I have another backup point I can use and reinstall if I need to. All right, we've done files, database. We did a child theme. We set up WordPress. Let's dig into that theme and what we might do. Or wait, should I break to take any questions? It's been a lot of information and I feel like really bad because I don't know if I went too fast or didn't zoom. So let's hear some, if there's any questions, we can take those.
There's a question about Git, or what was the GUI you were using for Git?
I use a GUI called Git Tower. It's just called Tower. The website's Git Tower. It's not free. Oh, Get Started, it's free. I think that's a lie. I don't know. I pay for it every year. Oh yeah, there you go, trial. I like it. There's probably not much of a difference between this and SourceTree, which is Atlassian's product that you can use with any Git repository hosting service. And Atlassian's is free, and GitHub Desktop I think is also free. I don't know if you can use that with also like any provider or if it's only for GitHub. So you can choose whichever Git GUI works for you. They do have a Windows version for Git Tower. I think that's probably the same for those other two that I just mentioned. I like the undo feature in Tower. You can Command Z and like change a commit if you've made a commit that you didn't mean to or whatnot. You can also create pull requests and other slightly cool features that maybe the other apps have by now. I just haven't used them in a long time, and I'm not gonna. There's no reason for me to change now. I hope that's helpful.
Jim is asking if you can use Google Analytics for the local instance of WordPress.
Oh, yes, I think. Actually, I don't know how that works. You can use Google Analytics. Google Analytics can be installed. I don't know if it tracks the same way or if you have to set up. There's something with the domain there that's kind of strange because you have to set up your domain, your URL of the site with each property. I've never had to do that. I mean, I've had sites that I've worked on that have Google Analytics, and it just ignores me when I'm working locally. I don't know if that's the question, or if you're like literally looking to track visits on your local host. Is there any background information we can get with that one? Or is that helpful? Just to configure it on the child. Oh, like if you want to add Google Analytics tracking snippet to the child theme so that when you do go live, that it tracks. Yes, you can do that. It won't, I don't think it actually tracks locally. It only tracks at the domain name that you set it. But you can certainly add that to the head file in your markup. Maybe we can jump into the theme files that we might add to a child theme, and we can take a look at that. All right, so also a lot of themes will have like a settings panel that allow you to paste a snippet of your Google Analytics, because that's a pretty common thing that people do these days. Can you do that with Yoast SEO? Does anyone confirm or deny that you can add tracking snippet right in Yoast? I know you can like submit Google Search Console and Webmaster Tools and all those things, but I don't know if you can actually enter that snippet. You can only like verify, I think. I could be wrong. That's also not a plugin I set up all the time. But I do set it up on every site. I just am not always the one in charge of that. Go ahead, Claire.
I actually don't remember. I always do it manually, but I can check.
And do you put it in your header or do you put it in your footer? Where do you put it these days?
If I'm using Astra, I believe Astra has a hook that is specifically for adding things at the top. Because Google specifies where it wants you to add the tracking things. Astra has hooks for both like the top of head and the top of body. So you can just copy and paste, basically just copy and paste it right into your, So you would just set up a tiny little function in your child themes functions.php, and that would manually add. I can grab the code for that if you want to show that. I just did that a week or two ago.
Sure, and we can take a look at that in a little bit too. All right, so let's take a look at where we are. Let's get this child theme actually activated so we can see what else we want to do here. This whole screens thing is really throwing me off. This is not how I normally work. All right, if I go here, we activated our child theme, yes, because it says demo 2021. And we take a look, it's, oh no, that's the site name. Oh, I'm such a noob. All right, let's go and activate our child theme. Yay. All right, cool. It looks like a starter site because that's kind of how Astra comes out of the box. So what you would normally do with Astra is look at some of their starter templates. And now this is the point where you have to consider your project. When choosing a premium theme, what information do you have? Do you have branding from a client or a website project that you know you need to use? Do you have certain goals of the site? Like, will it be an e-commerce site? Is it only a blog? Is this like a one-page marketing site that you're using just to collect email addresses to get a mailing list started? How flexible do you need it to be? So when you're looking for a premium theme, you need to make sure it like fits all those areas. And then also, is the developer of the premium theme some company or someone that has a good reputation? It's not always super obvious, depending on where you're buying your theme. We've used Astra now for a few years, so they always have updates. So I'm really comfortable using this theme as basically our starter theme, and then pretty much reworking almost everything about it. Like, you might not recognize it after we're done. But it's a good way to get like that layout and some of the elements in the header that there's some options that we'll look at in a little bit. So keeping in mind what kind of site you have, you can look through these starter themes that can take you from that starter site that we saw into a slightly more designed version of it. Things you don't need to pay attention to are typefaces, because you can easily change those. Colors, you can change it to match your brand. So those style edits are almost always customizable in the customizer. If the theme is well built, that's another thing. That's another reason why you need sort of a reputable developer, is to know you have those types of flexibilities with the premium theme you're going to buy. If you aren't familiar with the developer, you'll want to look at some of the support tickets. If you can see some of the support or the comments, if you're using like Theme Forest or something, the developers or the authors, I think they call them, have like reviews and reputation. I always go to that like little comments tab. However, most developers have moved their support to like a hidden portal, so you can't really see how they answer those types of questions. But you'll want to see like browser support. What version of which browsers their site claims to work on. You want to see if it's accessible. You want to see if it is up to the current version of WordPress. So those are things you'll want to look for. If you're using Astra, and this is not an ad for Astra, they're not affiliated in any way, you first might want to ask, are you going to use any sort of layout plugin with Astra? We're going to go with Gutenberg today because it's built right into WordPress, and it seems like it'll be the most future-proof, and that's just what we're going to do. And I don't have those other 2 plugins installed right now. And I think those other 2 or 3 have free versions, so it's not like you have to pay for all the things. All right, let's go. I liked this little cat one. We can take a look at it. I like the big hero area. And yeah, I like these little, hopefully they have icons on their site. They probably don't. I like these little details. It's like, oh, they have this little line. But you can achieve this with the ultimate add-ons for Gutenberg. So just because I like this doesn't mean the site works for me any better than any of those other ones. The current system is so flexible these days, but maybe it will create less work for me to do. So we are going to go with this. How do you even install it from here? This is just showing me, right? Let's get back to our, it took me away from our site. I think we have to install the plugin to do that, don't we? Extra options. Claire, you can jump in if you know right away what I'm doing wrong.
I can't remember if you need to have the
It's been so
version for
long.
this. It is its own little fun plugin.
Okay, here we go. Plugin install. I went to look at the link. I should have been more clear. Okay, now it's going to ask me the same question. I didn't have to go to that link. It shows me everything here. Thanks a lot, Astra. We'll crop that part out on the video. All right, here's my site. And it also gives me a little preview of all these other pages. And yeah, that looks good, whatever. Now you say, do I want to import all of these templates or just one? We're going to just import everything. I'm a pro. Does this matter? Ugh. All right, let's just do everything. No! All these people wanting our information for free, for the free thing they give us. That's going to save us hours and hours of work. But I'm sure I'm already on their email list because I got an email today from them talking about all the new updates. So this is going to go through and install all of those things that were on those previous pages. That was like, they install like some plugins so that everything can work as the demo shows. Probably Ultimate Add-ons for Gutenberg is one of those plugins they would maybe want to install. Activating Gutenberg as a plugin. What? That's weird. Well, how long is this going to take? It might take a while to download all those images, right? Do not close this browser window. Okay, we are going, fail. Why? I don't really need that one. Now what do I do? Just that one failed? I don't know. We'll hit cancel, see what happens.
See if everything else worked.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can take a look and see if any of it worked. Let's see what we're working with here. That's not a good sign. Let's try just the home page. And oh, eek. Eh, that's not good. Certainly didn't ask us as many questions this time. Oh, while that installs. I started downloading these. I have Gutenberg as a plugin. Ah, good. Extra widgets, extra sites. We already had those three. And then in themes, wait, I want to see how many uploads it got through. None. Okay, that's awesome. That's going to take a while. All right, let's go back to our. We don't have really that much to do, but I can walk through some of the changes I would normally. What? I don't know. I don't even want to install this plugin. It needs an updated database. Do I want to do that though? Because I'm on an old version of Flywheel. Can I even update this database? Maybe I can just skip this and see what happens. Donation failed. I don't want to give WP. It's trolling me now. Okay, let's deactivate this one. I didn't have to check that off. Yeah, let's just delete it all. Oh, seriously. The plugin broke my site. No, I won't do that. I feel like. Wait, no. Yes. All right, now you're getting this because I don't want to fill that out. Oh, hey, skip and deactivate. I should read. I think that would be helpful. All right. Now, I think we're still stuck in this weird, we don't have a starter theme installed, and now it's I already tried to set up some menus. All right, let's do this again. Let's go with the same one just in case. I don't know. But only home. Fool me 3 times, then we can all drink. Okay, I'm a beginner this time. Oh yeah, skip. Oh, what? You gotta be kidding me. Oh wow. So that looks nothing like the no, sort of like the site, right? That's strange. Usually it looks exactly like the demo site, but I assume there's some things that we didn't install, like menu styles, perhaps. I don't know. We don't have a menu right now, so let's just give it a primary. Menu name, get rid of these failed pages. What? Okay. Let's just have a sample page. And that's it. All right, cool. No. Oh my goodness gracious. See, this is where we expected to be with the live demo, right? We're just gonna, let's work on this. Try this, customize. Eek. Yeah. Oh, that's because we only downloaded the home page. Ugh. Do we really have to do this for the whole site? Okay, let's set up our home page. Reading static page, our home page, which is sample page, and our blog has not been created yet, so we'll come back. Oh, yeah. We'll come back to that in a second. Actually, let's just create the blog now. Add new. Thanks. This is going to be called blog. Ew, when did that happen? No. It's 7:29, yes. No, I'm giving a presentation right now. You gotta shut the door, please. Okay. Reading. And didn't shut the door. I'll be right back. Okay. Now we have a blog and a homepage. Let's actually add that blog to our menu. Let's call this home. I am breezing through this. I could talk more about it, I suppose, but I don't think this is what you came for. So we still don't have a site. We don't have a starter site installed. I'm gonna do a different one. Now I don't like the animal one. Which one should we do? This one looks nice. Eek. No, I don't like it for our website. It's a lovely site for anything else. Actually, we should definitely go with free. Did that change anything? Oh, it is in there. Okay. I was gonna freak out. All right. What do we do? Let's make let's stay fit and healthy because there's no contact page that's gonna freak out about the form. Okay. Maybe I'm intermediate now. Oh, wait, remember I can skip this, right? Oh gosh, never mind. I'm gonna do everything different. Yes, I guess we have to import content. I can skip this one. Fingers crossed. Do we have any questions? Oh, sweet. Thanks for adding that function sample, Claire. Let's take a look at that. Nope. There it is. Ugh. Oh, really? Anyone want to place a bet? Okay, that's somewhat of a relief. Okay, so we have a pretty decent looking homepage and blog page. Now, as a designer, I see this and I'm like, these headlines are tiny, right? We can go change that. This is certainly not accessible. If we test this peach with white, I mean, it's white, so that's 3.59. You need at least 4.5 to be accessible with a small and not bold typeface like this.
What tool are you using there to do that?
This is called Contrast. I think it's a Mac app only. And I love it. I use Contrast. Yeah, here it is. Ah, there you go. Oops. You can do a little eyedropper, which isn't always accurate. Sometimes you want to actually inspect the code. Get rid of this. In order to see the actual color used, because it just sort of approximates it on your screen, but it's a pretty quick and easy tool. Now, if this isn't accessible, after I already did the eyedropper thing for the foreground and background, I can go up and down. Right now, I'm just using my down key until I get to 4.57. So then, okay, now you see the AA, it used to be AA plus, meaning it would have to be 18 points, or wait, is it 14 point bold or 18 not bold? But that's points, not pixels. So you'd have to make it even larger, which is really big. And I think a lot of times people will use like inaccessible combinations on buttons or whatnot. So this is a pretty simple way to get to at least an AA rating, which is 4.5 to 1 contrast ratio between your foreground and background color. Yeah, I like to use this tool, so I would copy it. And then let's get nerdy for a second. My favorite Alfred workflow, Alfred 4 for Mac, is a shortcut app. It does, you can do these weird workflows. So if you want to like generate a bunch of like cupcake ipsum, or if you want it to like test a website in 3 browsers, like you could do all these weird little helpful things. But my favorite workflow Alfred tool by far is this little one where I enter, I enter in my color that I just copied from Contrast. And if I enter in hash code, I can easily grab the HSL version of the color or RGB. HSL is really easy to work from because HSL stands for hue, saturation, lightness. So the first number here is the hue, it's a 4. It starts at red at 0, and the color wheel, if you think about a rainbow, it goes all the way around. So you got your orange, and you got your yellow, and then green and blue. I think I talked about this on my last time I spoke. So you go all the way back up to like a pink, and then it turns back to red at 0 or 360. And then you can keep going around the circle, but you don't really need to. The second number there is the percent of saturation. 100% super bright and saturated, and 0 is no color. And then 52 is the lightness. So that's kind of in between a light and a dark. Again, so if you want to test for accessibility and you're like, I just need this to be a little darker, you can just change that 52 value and make it a little lower, and then it will probably be accessible. So I'm going to grab that, although I probably don't need it. Let's take a look at what this theme offers us for those types of customizations. If we go to Customizer, every theme will give you, I shouldn't say will give you different options, but some themes build in certain panels into the Customizer based off what they think is helpful for you to edit. A lot of times you'll see these options. You'll see typography, colors, containers, kind of like the spacing and the layout, and then buttons, which are probably also links. I don't know. A lot of times people group buttons into links. Okay, so if we look at colors, right now the link color is that, which was not what we found at first, but link hover and link is the same. That's weird. I don't recommend that unless there's like another obvious visual difference for a hover other than just underline perhaps. This, I'm gonna break it down, and I copied it in HSL all at once. So let me go back. Oh my goodness gracious. Do that. Since it broke it up for me, if I was pasting this into CSS, I would use HSL. Here, I'm just going to let it do the conversion for me. So now my links are accessible. I'm going to make the hover color darker than that one. So I'm gonna start there. And then, I don't know, make it super obvious. What should we go with here? Yeah, why not? Oh, good. It's not quite black. I don't think I ever use like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I always use almost 0 for my headings. And let's lighten it up and bring some life to this. This is completely arbitrary. If I had a design or a brand or something, I would try to get inspiration from it. I don't. So I'm going to use this, but super desaturated. Let's go down this way. Okay.
Hey, Stacy, is this WordPress or is this specific to Astra with this color picker you're doing now?
This is specific to Astra, I think. I don't think all WordPress themes have this, but many do. And where each panel is organized is based on what the theme developer felt made sense. Let's take a look here. So we published that. Let's go back to our themes and let's activate, I'm nervous, our default theme and see what options there are. Okay, now when we go back to customize, we have a different colors panel. The one before was in, I don't even, theme options or something. I can't even remember what the name of it was. But now, oh yeah, the only thing we have is to select a dark mode. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Let's not worry about that. So yeah, you'll see there's a lot of different options here. Now the other one will still have site identity, although I don't know if it's loose. I think it's buried. But every WordPress site, I believe, will have the menus option. Anything that would appear or anything that would display in the appearances menu, I think would be in here. So menus in widgets, I think homepage settings, additional CSS is on every site. So the ones that are unique here are excerpt settings. Background image is often built into the theme, but I don't think that's always there. And I'm not sure about this. I think this, I see this everywhere. I don't know if that's necessarily theme specific, but I always see a customizer like function in a premium theme for this area. So I don't know if that's because they're adding something new or not. I'm not going to save those dark mode changes. I'm going to go back to my child theme here, activate that. We'll see how much we lost. This is our, oh no, that's a button. That's not a link. So I don't think that changed because we could see here that buttons are still C9 blah, blah, blah. So let's take a look. And I opened my browser tools in the inspector. So in here, yeah, the colors in this theme are located in global colors. I only changed link color, but you'll see out here, there's also a button color. And we are gonna give that our accessible choice. There. Also, when I do this, that is my multiple clipboard manager that is currently running through that Alfred app that I showed you. Highly recommend a clipboard manager. It doesn't have to be Alfred. It could be, I used to use Flycut. I think it's free in the Mac App Store. I know there's plenty on Windows as well, but it's nice to be able to go through history of clippings that you have for a specified amount of either time or number in your clipboard manager there, so that you don't always have to go back and forth and back and forth. You can keep a lot on your clipboard. All right, for time's sake, we're just doing that. Okay, and we're gonna publish. And I see it's already taken effect. If I get out of that, and it's still there. Excellent. Okay, here's the deal. Oftentimes when you edit something in Customizer, it's harder to override in CSS. So if you're someone who's going to be writing custom CSS to do things that you want on a global scale, I would maybe avoid the Customizer settings altogether because it might be easier. Now, if a theme is set up very well, there should be a way to override all that. But that is not always the case, even with really good theme developers. Even so, when you're using the Customizer, it's a lot easier when you go to edit the page. If you made style changes in that Customizer, they'll likely appear here when you're in the editor. Now, if you're doing CSS changes to make this headline white, you also will likely need to do that to either a block editor style file, or you can use that advanced CSS tab, which I also wouldn't necessarily recommend because now that's not in version control, but that is really helpful for quick little changes to see if something will work. Then you save it to your project. Yeah, I have like this love-hate relationship with these blocks. I think this is totally the way of the future. But when you start adding styles to this, it's really hard to override them on a global scale. So if you change something here, that's not necessarily going to be the headline every time you use this. That's why we have WordPress patterns, reusable blocks, those kind of things. So if you do change a style, you can save it out as a block and then use it everywhere. However, styles and markup probably, in my mind, should always be separate. So they're always easily maintained in the future. Yes, that will be all I'm going to rant about that. You will need to pick which direction you go with that, depending on your level of comfort with custom CSS. I realize I didn't get into any of the organizing of a project, and we are, is 8 o'clock like our typical end? Yeah. I think, I don't know. Is it interesting to anybody? I don't want to just keep yapping if everyone's falling asleep.
Yeah, you should talk about how you organize a project.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get into a little bit of that. I am going to, oh yeah, I didn't even talk about gulp and build tools. Okay, buckle up. There we go. I am going to open a different project in a different tab here, and I will zoom in for everybody. And I don't know why they keep organizing by icon. It's driving me a little. Okay, I want that to be a new window. Cool. Can I get this to work? Oh, I think that's Moom. Sizing my windows and halvesies for me. Okay. So on the left, I have my theme for this project. And on the right is a different theme from another project. Actually, the last time we did a demo of block color changes and little low-hanging fruit that you can do. When I work on a site, I like to use something that we call build tools, which allow you to set up automations to do chores for you that you would normally have to do over and over again. And then they'll do these. It's like your little Roomba, like it will do it for you so you don't have to do it again. So these chores include taking certain CSS that you might have written in something like Sass, a different language, and it compiles them into CSS so that WordPress can understand it. It might take your JavaScript. If you have a bunch of different little JavaScript partials with different functions in each, it will combine them and then it will minimize it, concatenate it, that's the combine step, and then clean it. And then it will do things like look for your translation strings, your text domains, and make sure to add the localization language file for that there. It will take your SVG icons that are in a specified folder and group them into one, so it only loads the one file, and then you can use like a sprite. There's a lot of little like handy things it'll do. You can set it up to optimize your images, even though I know WordPress does that. But if you have any images that you're hosting in your theme for like specific logos or anything that you need to be in the theme, so it's version controlled, or maybe you're doing like a protected download or gated content type of thing that you don't necessarily want in the, you usually see it with icons, whether it's social media icons or if you have any other iconography on site. There's a lot of reasons to use these build tools. A lot of times you can do like a browser reload. I don't have that in mine right now. I did, it never seemed to work quite right. I probably have lots of errors in mine, but they're super helpful. And what you need for that is this gulp file here, or any gulp file that you write. This is the one I'm going to use. And you need a package.json file, which will install all those things that we need to do the automations. Here we go. I'm also going to bring over a few folders that I would normally have here. We're going to do this assets folder, and I'm going to bring over just all of my Sass files, which is the stuff I write CSS in Sass. It converts it to CSS. I'm just going to drag all this over here. Now Git is going to yell at me as soon as I install this. Well, it won't yell at me, but I don't want to include this node modules folder. This node modules folder is created when I run the next command that I will, and it installs all these little robots, okay? So we'll show you how to deal with that. No. Sorry. No. Okay. I'm going to open the Visual Studio Code's terminal here, and it tells me I am in my theme demo folder. That's where I want to be. To install all of those robots, I'm going to do npm install, which you only have to do once unless anything updates. No such file. What? What is this? We'll see what happens. It told me to. That doesn't look good either. Let's try npm install again. Oh, I have a space there. Ugh. Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on here. So we're going to show this to you in the other project, in the other sample project that I had. Let's just get rid of this. All right. I can troubleshoot that later, so you don't have to painfully sit here. But this project is nearly identical to our current project, except for I don't think I have the parent theme attached to it. And that's over here. There we go. All right. This is not what I wanted. Just get rid of this. All right. We can't see the changes right away here, but so we did npm install. We're going to pretend that we did that. And if I run gulp, it's going to go through all my commands to do my internationalization. Whatever. There's some function there that's not correct. And then let's take a look at this file here if I can get it to open. All right, I usually don't have this small screen with this many files open. Oh my gosh, I can't even. Close it. You know what? Close all. Okay, that was weird. All right, so here we go. So if I tell it to just gulp, it's going to run through and do sprites task, which that might be the one that, no, I'm going to get rid of the icons for now. Oh, wait a second. This isn't even the right gulp file. I hope you all are having a better day than I am. Let's try this again. Let's see if this works. Fingers crossed. Lost. See, this is, you know, the kind of stuff that actually takes more time to set up. But once it's running, it's so fast. Maybe I can show you another way. I wonder if it will do it with watch. Like, I wonder if it's all the tasks or just one. I'm going to see that it's triggering on a line here. So it's watching. Watch is another feature here that I set up so that it will watch all the files that I tell it to. And if there's a change, it like does its thing, right? So if, did I move all those folders? I didn't just copy those. That's part of the reason. I'm a genius. Okay, we'll need this back. Let's just copy it. Let's do that correctly this time. And let's try that again. And then we can kind of talk about how this is set up. Okay, so far so good. All right, you can organize this however you'd like. WordPress would prefer that there is a style.css file in the root and a functions.php file in the root of this theme, not of the entire server. The functions.php file we have here will give you that version number of the theme that we saw earlier. Makes it easier to troubleshoot. But in this theme, in this function file, you will see that I don't enqueue my styles because I do all of the functions in WordPress in their own individual partial, we call it, making each piece as small as possible. And so it's focused. So all my scripts that will be styles and scripts that will be enqueuing are in this folder or file. Colors will be in here in color, and then et cetera, et cetera. So if we take a look at scripts, that's where you see slightly modified, but it's basically the same thing, enqueuing that child theme file, and it outputs the version number there. So it always will update whenever you save it and push it to the server. Okay, so I like to break it up in partials. It's just a pretty common programming thing people do. In my SAS folder, I almost always have a sort of config folder where you set up all your variables or mixins. If you use like a global thing that might change and you want all the same like brand color, you can put it in a color file. And then as you go, if the border ever changes or whatnot, then you only have to change it here instead of everywhere that you're applying it. So SAS makes writing CSS faster. You can also do things like easier like media queries. You can create little options for that. So you could say if we're below 500 pixels and then do all this stuff, and it's a lot faster than writing it out every time. I know it doesn't look faster, but this you copy and paste from something else. You don't have to write this every time. After config is all the like settings files that don't output any CSS. Then I usually will go with base, and these remedies CSS reset. So if you don't want any, you have font sizes, you don't want any margin around your body, because by default, sometimes browsers will add margin, that kind of stuff. Root is just I shouldn't explain each one, but root will be like just the overall, everything on the HTML and body, the height and the overflow. Oh, I keep getting visitors. And then most of the Sass stuff will be in either patterns, which are things like lists or links or anything that you can use globally. And then more specific things would be components like your navigation, your header, footer. Those are things that are like up here, like in one place and not something that's necessarily global. Sorry, everybody, I'm going fast and I'm getting interrupted.
Who?
Yeah.
Who Phil?
Okay. Thanks. Oh my gosh. Then anything I put in images, SVG icons, in theory, would combine in this sculpt task. I'm not going to bore you anymore because this is getting excruciating for all of us, I think. So I will stop there and see if anyone has any questions. Although I should add an SVG so we can see how it works. We'll do that real quick. There's got to be an SVG in here. Yeah, noun butterfly. All right, if we add it in there, in here though, yeah, move it there. So we added to the SVG icons folder here, and then it automatically compiled, created this SVG icons folder or file, and then any SVG I put in this folder will compile into this general icon, which will be loaded into the theme, and you can use it everywhere in the theme with inline SVG. I feel like there's so much more we can cover, but not in a shorter time period. Okay, any questions? Like, what the heck was that? What just happened? I'm so sorry about the issues we had with all the compiling. If, I don't know if this is cross-platform or just for Mac, but CodeKit, if you don't want to deal with Gulp and all these other build tools like Webpack and Parcel, there's a lot of them. You can use something. I will often reach for this if I'm like the only one that's going to be compiling thing on a website. I might reach for CodeKit. I can point it to a folder. Let's point it to the one that didn't work. And now it's watching that demo 2021 folder. So if I were to make a change in that one, where that is right now. I want this. This is getting confusing because everything's named demo 2021 now, or some sort of demo. So I'm just open it from my Finder. Now, if I were to make a change to Sass anywhere, hopefully, let's see. Let's just make a quick change. Body, background, coral. Oops, center. And oh, that's all showing me updated because that's Kit. CodeKit didn't do anything. Oh, actually, it probably did. I just have notifications turned off. Oh, but it actually didn't. Okay, forget it. I have to do more settings there. CodeKit's super easy. You, like all the other GUIs we saw tonight, you sort of just plug and play. So you can tell it to, I wonder if I can do that. I'm not going to do this right now. But you tell it, you know, what to look for and where to spit it out. And it does all this stuff, including auto prefixer. You can handle all these languages. It can do your SVGs. It can do your JavaScript. It's cool. The thing with CodeKit is it will export like a settings file. But if you're working with other people, they won't be able to use it unless they also have CodeKit. So use it if you wish. It's great for projects that you work on alone, unless your whole team has CodeKit. It's really a nice, handy tool. The end. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I will make you suffer through tonight.
Oh, great. Thanks. That was super informative. Pretty technical towards the end.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's cool. There's a lot of sometimes these technical things are useful and we kind of need some guidance to get started in them. I know that I never used Git until I was forced to, but I'd always heard about it in talks. Does anybody else have any other questions or anything in general about this sort of setup and of themes and child themes and projects?
So you want to wake? No.
How long have you been using Local by Flywheel?
Oh, since Claire showed us, what, like 2016, 2015? I used to use MAMP before Local, but then when MAMP upgraded, I think 2 versions, and I didn't feel like paying for it anymore when I could use Local, I started using Local exclusively.
Yeah, I tried it. I am still sort of using desktop server, but I also have a dev site online that I do stuff, because most of the time I wind up pushing it up someplace live anyway, so the client can look at it. But
yeah, that was one of the coolest features. That's maybe the first reason I tried this, is there's this little enable live link feature on Local. It feels like pretty insecure. I don't know. I'm not a security person. I don't want to get like yelled at from Local or something, or by Flywheel, but anytime you're opening a tunnel up to your computer that other people can look, but it's really nice and convenient if you want to send your client like, hey, here's this link. You can look at this link for a limited amount of time because it sort of expires. I don't know all the technical details. I don't think I have to be at my computer, but I could be wrong. But yeah, it's open for a little while. They can review it. You can maybe review it together. So it's kind of nice that there is that option. I think it's cool. I just can't speak to the security or lack of security of it because I don't know. It just feels more vulnerable for some reason.
Sally, where are you pushing sites to show your clients before they're launched?
I have a site, the URL is Blue Orchid Dev. My main site is Blue Orchid website. This is Blue Orchid Dev, and then I usually make a subdomain.
Okay.
I'm gonna look at. It's just kind of easy. And somebody else I know that I'm kind of helping him with a project uses Project Huddle, which is another thing that sits on top, and it allows your client then to make comments right on the page. They don't have to be logged in or anything. They don't have to send you comments on Asana or whatever you use. It's pretty nice, and then you can address them or resolve them right on the screen.
It's cool.
For this latest project, we used it for the dev team and then also for the client to review.
We've used BugHerd before. I really like a lot about BugHerd. It's basically a layer over the website that will allow you to log in. And like if there's something they don't expect, you can take like a screenshot of it there, and it automatically sends like all the information and what browser they're looking at, what version, like what screen size. It's kind of nice to have all of that information along with like a screenshot of the problem area.
Yeah.
And then you can log in and see all the, like the pins if you're doing like QA or anything.
That is nice.
Yeah.
I've used Userback too with another someone. I was a hired dev on that. But that one, it takes a screenshot with that they were looking at, and then you go into the Userback app. It's an online app, web app. And so you can see the screenshot, and then you have their comments there on the same screen.
That's nice.
Okay, I'm gonna post those in the comments on the meetup link. I've never used those tools and they sound really useful.
They're pretty cool.
Is there anyone that uses a Mac? Was that like, I know that was very Mac centric. Yes, Claire. Yay.
Oh yeah, but I don't do any of that stuff though.
So I apologize. And there's likely an alternative on Windows for many of those things. I just don't necessarily know what it is off the top of my head.
There is a Git GUI that I use that's also free.
What is it?
I think it's just called Git GUI. So
Oh,
think
very
about
well
it.
named.
Look it up here real quick. Yeah, Git GUI, Git GUI. See if I can get the and the about. And of course, you know, you can go to their Git install and find it.
I just realized like we did this whole presentation of like why to work locally and why it saves time and everything that could have went wrong did.
Well, it wouldn't be a live demo if it didn't.
Oh, goodness gracious.
You can sit here all day and do it, but as soon as somebody says, show me how you did that, everything breaks.
Yeah, yeah.
Sally, do you have a link for that Git GUI? I'm having trouble Googling it.
Let's see if I can find it. I've had it forever. Let's see here. It came with a whole group. It has a Git Bash and a Git CMD too. It's an app. Let's see, what does Git Bash say? Oh no, that's just the terminal window.
Hi, Stacy, can I ask a question?
Yes, please do.
Okay, thank you very much. For the local host, I found there's not sometimes not a function well. Is when I try to import the Jetpack, that plugin, it does not work. So in that case, we may have to use the live server, right? Have you tried using Jetpack localhost?
It's been years, so I can't remember what issues they did or didn't have with it. Does any of it work though? Like, is there certain, like, are you using Jetpack for a specific thing that isn't working, or like just none of it's working?
No way to import at all. I want to use that for the image galleries. They have function, looks good. Yeah, but
I used to use Slim Jetpack anytime I had to. If I was only using Jetpack for like one thing, there's usually some modules that broke Jetpack down. I don't know if I'm using it anywhere here. But let's see if I can install it. You should be able to at least download the plugin and install it locally, but I don't know if every, like WordPress probably won't work, or I realize I'm not sharing my screen anymore, so that's not helpful.
I try many
yeah.
times, it does not work.
Huh.
It will
Claire,
pop
have you
up.
ever
Yeah.
ran into that?
I use the MAMP.
Fellow Mac user.
I wonder if it's something to do with the domain name. Like, if it's the paid version of Jetpack, don't you need to have the site registered? Like, I know some plugins only work on a certain domain name, so you have to disable them if you're on your dev or test site.
I don't know if we try the live, it will work well.
Is it? Oh, is it? Hang on. I used to be able to do this, but it's been at least 5 years since I've used Jetpack. So I also don't know if things have changed, and I'm sure they've added features. Fixing Jetpack connection issues. I can't answer that right now because I don't know, but I am super happy to look into that. If you want to send us, if you're in our Slack I'll post whatever I find there. If you're not, if you want to post your email in the chat room, and you can be invited to our Slack. Otherwise, I can post it on the meetup.com board that advertises the event with whatever information I find. Using Jetpack for client sites. Don't have a period in your, I mean, there's help on it, so I imagine it's possible. It's more like, how do you get it to actually work? Now with extra development mode. Maybe this is helpful. Thanks. Oops. Everybody. I wonder if you have to add that define debug true to Jetpack into your WP config file. Is that something you've come across in order to have localhost? Maybe something to look into. Although that's not new. It looks like that was posted in 2013. So maybe it's like super old news.
Okay. Okay, never mind. Is this the link for, what is this?
For the
link
blog post that I was just reading about how to use Jetpack on a local development, but this is like 8 years old. I was an art major. This is like 8 years old.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I will try the stack later. The other question is, if I have to use the live server, because I'm a beginner, sometimes I want to make web just for trying, for play around. So I'm now trying Flywheel. I can use it for, looks like only for 2 sites, right? We cannot use, we cannot create a subdomain. Is that right? I
In
sense.
Pantheon?
Yeah.
Sorry. I know they for sure have a dev or a staging and a live. I wonder if, well, Claire would know so much more about Pantheon than I would. I don't know if that comes with a certain amount of plans to set up subdomains or multiple installs.
I think you can only get a certain number of sandbox sites before they start charging you. But to answer your question, Yi, I mean, if you're just practicing, there's no reason you would need, I mean, some things, of course, you need a live server. Like if you want to try really tracking Google Analytics, or, you know, have people interacting with your site, then you need a live server. But if you're just playing around with code and seeing if things work, you could just do it all locally, or you know, on a sandbox demo or dev site on Pantheon. It's a lot of things work the same. Some things don't work unless they're on a live site because they need to have a live domain, or they need real traffic interaction or things like that. But most of what you might want to experiment with would work locally or just in a private dev environment.
Except for Jetpack, apparently.
Apparently.
Yeah, okay. If we do want to try the live server besides the Flywheel, any other sites you can recommend that we can do the similar things?
I use SiteGround for my personal. It's super low cost for like a small hosting plan. I shouldn't say super low cost. It's a cost that I never want to pay every year. I host like one site that probably gets 0 to 1 actual user a month because I never post anything on my site, but I just feel like I need to have it. So I choose SiteGround, but that's only because Claire used it like ages ago.
I use SiteGround too.
Okay.
I use SiteGround for my personal sites, but I want to be cheap for cheap hosting. It's good cheap hosting.
Okay. Yeah. Good idea. Yeah, I will try that. Thank you so much.
I'm still looking for the website for that
Get GUI.
GUI.
So you've got a one-off. You've got some sort of weird.
Well, I've had it forever. They may not even be supporting it anymore. I sent a note to you, Claire. I also use Atom for my
Code editor.
code editor, yeah. And it has an add-on that'll let you connect to your Git
That's
repo.
nice.
You can push things straight to there too.
Oh, yeah, most code editors do have
Yeah.
that. It's not as visually graphic as some of these like
Yeah.
made for only Git apps.
Yeah.
But you usually find some sort of extension that will let you do Git and FTP from like Visual Studio Code and Sublime and Atom, whatever is your preferred text editor. Even Coda, I know, handles like version control. Not that Coda's bad. I like Coda.
I don't commit that to many things. I really should do that. The backup version control that you've been doing. You pointed out all the things that I need to learn or be better at tonight.
And you know, it sounded really complicated, and it isn't. I mean, the gulp
Yeah.
file stuff is way more complex than getting into Git if you're using a GUI, because literally all you really need to do is start the Git, and then when you make a series of changes, you commit them, you save them, you're done. You don't even have to deploy if you don't want to. So that one, I think, it's a really good habit to get into if you take nothing else from this amazing presentation tonight. I would check out Git version control.
Pantheon works a lot that way. They have that dev test live. So you have to do code changes in dev. Claire, do you know, is the multi-dev available for the free level, or do you have to have paid level for that?
Pantheon, I would say that's a huge drawback for them is they do not allow multi-dev except on their very most expensive plans because
Okay.
of their multiple server environment setup. So you would need a different host for multi-dev, but I do like them for, I like them just for developing in general. And I think if you're starting out with Git, which is pretty intimidating to get started with, Pantheon, a sandbox on Pantheon is a good choice because a free sandbox on Pantheon, they set up the Git repository for you, and then they just tell you like they give you the URLs and everything, and there's very clear instructions on how to get it set up to your local so that you can practice syncing back and forth without having to figure it out completely from scratch by yourself.
Their documentation is very good.
Yeah.
It really is. I do have a hard time explaining to folks that have their live site on there, explaining when you do updates, how you have to update in dev and then push it to test and pull down any live content you have, check it there, and then push it up and then pull everything back down. Unless you are kind of heavy into the development side, that seems like a lot of work, because it is a lot of work, but
Are your
it's hard to understand why.
Your clients are doing that for themselves?
Some are.
Huh. No, I
didn't put them on. It's usually something I inherited. I didn't usually put them on there.
Yeah, I do
Just
that for
because
my
it's
clients.
a lot of
I would
work.
never. I just, I mean, they pay me, but they just stay on the live site and I do the dev and test.
Yep. Yeah, I have one that hired me specifically because she got tired of doing that, so she hired me to do it. I said, okay.
It's a hassle, but it gives you an absolutely foolproof. You can't break your site. No matter what you do to your site, there's a version of it that you can get back or roll back to.
They have a nice backup. I mean, you set backups every day for all 3 environments too. So if you really break something, you can totally replace it all.
Yep.
The
make
time
sure
before you broke
you update your site if it hasn't gone live. Make sure you update it at least once every 90 days. Otherwise, it will freeze due to inactivity. Yep. And yeah, I've had that happen several times.
Yeah, I've had that happen on a couple.
I think
if you have the free account, you can only have 3 sandboxes, I think. Which, depending on what you're doing, that might be plenty. If you're just kind of fooling around and trying stuff, and
And it's nice that you can even have that. Like most hosting, you just have to pay for space and
do
whatever.
And then it's like a gym membership. Use it or don't, you're still paying.
Yep. I can't believe that crashed so bad. I've never had a problem with Astra and starter sites, and
They've been
That was kinda
upgrading a lot
weird.
lately.
I just want to redo. I feel like I confused everybody. Anyhow, okay. Well, that's not okay, but I'm gonna let it go.
The good thing is Astra has in the past, I don't know, you can't guarantee they'll do it this year. In the past, they've usually had a good deal around Black Friday for lifetime licenses.
For the pro.
Yeah, for the pro.
Yeah.
So then you can get access to more of those child themes, and you
Child
can
themes.
also do some other customizations. Oh, somebody was asking before about putting in Google Tag Manager or one of those codes. If you
Yeah.
have the pro, you can create a special little header snippet to do that.
Oh yeah, the custom layout.
The custom layouts,
That's my
yeah.
favorite feature of Astra, custom layout. Although I don't know if Claire would agree,
It
based
works
on when
most
you
of the
migrate
time.
it back and forth, like the IDs are new or whatever, and they don't match. That's that's been fun.
Yeah, that was a hassle on Pantheon because they're created in the database, so they have post IDs. So you have to be extremely careful when moving from dev to test with them.
Yeah.
It's gimmicky, but it's a cool way to get stuff done, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's not an ideal for a Pantheon type install. In that case, you just put it in the header PHP in dev and push it up. That's better.
I think we've been using Astra a lot, and I think the biggest problem that I have with it is that because it has so many shortcuts like that are stored in the database, and that you also do a lot of customizations in code, you end up with conflicts where things that you need to move from one environment to another are both in the database and in the code, and you can't just, you can't push your dev database to test or your test database live. So you have to they have an exporter, but even that you need to be very careful about what you're pulling out of the settings. It's often easier to just go in and just set the settings like side by side in browser windows, just manually go through and copy the settings.
Yeah.
To make sure things get moved to the right place on the server.
Well, yeah, because when you sync it back down, the database from live is coming down.
Yep. And so all your customization work will be removed.
Yeah.
And then if you push it live, then all your content would go with it. It's everything gets mixed together in the database. So you have to be very careful with that.
Another reason to use your local CSS and use version control instead of using that customizer. So Claire doesn't have to have two browser windows open. Copy paste, copy paste. I hope she uses a clipboard manager.
Copy things back and forth.
Pushing one button.
Yes. You're like George Jetson, pushing the button all day.
All right, I gotta go. My kids clearly want my attention. So, yeah.
Haven't you all been home for a year together?
Half naked earlier. yeah, but yeah, they have school and then work and then our schedules did not meet up today. So, okay, thanks everybody for
thank you
sticking in there.
SEO back next month, everyone.
Alrighty.
I'll see you on the Slack channel. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Good night.
So we can see that the recording will be in the meetup, right?
Yes, it'll be posted on YouTube, and I'll put a link on the meetup. It takes at least a day for it to generate in the servers.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.